Today, I started off by finishing the Winky Guard tunics with putting the buttons on the front of the tunics. I only had about 18 left to do, so it didn't take me very long. It was helpful, particularly to use what I did yesterday by marking out the placement of the buttons, figuring that out first, marking them out, and then sewing them on. Allowed me to have the pace quite quick. And then once I'd finished them, I started to look at Dorothy's black and white dress for when she's in Kansas. So everything is dull and grey and like sepia, and then she goes to Oz, and then she's in her blue dress and everything's bright and colourful. So it kind of just like exacerbates the contrast between Kansas and Oz, and just really helps the audience see that transition in Dorothy herself as well, and seeing that this is not she's not where she was before. It's a really, really different place, and it's that immediate visual cue for the audience to know that has changed. And so the grey dress needs to be very similar to the blue one she has for the rest of the show. And we already had one of these, so I was making it look the same. So I took measurements from that dress because it was built, that pinafore, it's built of just rectangles, so it's quite easy to replicate. So I measured the waist of the skirt, and I measured the bottom, and I used these measurements to cut out one big rectangle for the skirt, which was, I think, 2 times longer than the waist. As I was gathering the main body of the skirt to make it fuller and to match the other one, and so that meant the waistband had to be smaller. And I also cut out a front piece and 2 straps. For the waistband, I used interfacing to make it thicker and sturdier on the inside, and I used the bagging out method so there wasn't any raw edges on the waistband. And then for the gathering on the main part of the skirt, I did 2 lines of stitching running parallel to each other on the longest stitch, which meant that I could pull 2 of the threads that I left long tails on the end of to make the fabric like cinch together and create the little folds that are gathers. And this can make the skirt like a lot fuller. And something I didn't remember to do initially, but then I remembered to do, is to mark on the waistband where the middle and then the 2 like quarters are, a pin where each of the quarters are, and then did the same on the actual skirt. And this means I can then match up those pins and gather in smaller sections, organize them in smaller sections, and this allows me to more easily see if it's even, because I only have to make it the same length as those amounts, and it will be the same amount pulled in all of those. It will need to be the same amount smaller, so there'll be the same amount of gathers in all of them, and it will just make it neater and more even on for the entire skirt. I do think that if I'd have remembered this earlier, and instead of guessing on one side where the quarters were, they would have been a lot more even. So I really would have liked to do it beforehand, but then I didn't want to undo what I'd already done. So I think it's just something that I'm going to bear in mind to avoid in future. And something that was really helpful was ironing everything nice and crisply, because it made putting it together and sewing it a lot easier and made everything look a lot tidier. The gingham was easy to work with because there were lines on it, straight lines that I could follow to cut and to sew along, and I feel like that made it all overall quite a lot neater. I did have some trouble with the placement of the strap the on the back. I put it too close to the edge, so it would just fall straight off the shoulder. So I unpicked it and moved it around, and that was as far as I got to today. So tomorrow what I'll need to do is just sew it down, and I think I'll also then try it on the actor and see where the straps best sit on her, and also see if maybe I can look at the original pinafore again and see where it's put on there, and use that to help inform me of where I want to put it.